What's going on, guys? Give everybody a minute to join. Welcome. This is my first time using this, so forgive me if there's any technical issues. All right, I'm gonna give everybody a couple more minutes, then we'll get started. If you guys are watching the replay, just so you know, in the future, you can always join live, ask questions, and I'll try to respond as quickly as I can with the time given. I'm with you guys today for a little bit less than an hour, but feel free to type your questions into the chat, and I will answer them as soon as I can. I'm first going to start with the pre-submitted questions. So if you don't know, my name is Alex. I own a barbershop. I've been a barber since 2014. And I also have a free online community called the Barber Mastermind. It's free to join. And there where I work with one-on-one with barbers that are looking to make more money and grow their business. So if that sounds interesting to you, you can join. This is the link, school.com/barber-mastermind. It's free to join. You can work with me in there. And there's lots of other barbers in there that can help you too. So not just me. Right. Also, if you're interested, as part of joining the group, you can book a free onboarding call. So it's like this, but one-on-one. So just me and you to answer any questions that you might have to help you make more money as a barber. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and start answering these questions now. If y'all join in the middle of the Q&A, just type your questions into the chat and I will answer them as soon as I finish answering these pre-submitted questions that were submitted into the school group that I mentioned earlier. So in the next Q&A, if you want to pre-submit a question that more likely I will answer it, then you will do that in the school group, the Barber Mastermind. All right. So Bernard wants to know, what is the best way of what is the best way of growing your clientele if you don't have any? So that's an interesting question, Bernard. And I definitely, a lot of people ask me the same thing. So how to grow your clientele? Well, what a lot of barbers don't think about is, are you even in the right shop to grow your clientele? Because if you want to make the most amount of money, I think one of the easiest ways to do that is by going to a barbershop that already has clientele. And if you're starting out in a new city or if you're new to the industry, one of the easiest things you can do to start making money fast is just going to a shop that already has the clients there. And you don't have to do any marketing, right? And this is exactly what I did. So I'm just going to be telling you guys what's worked for me. So when I was fresh out of school, I went and tried to find the busiest barbershop that I could. And so I think it's important that you know the types of clients that you're working with or that you want to work with. And then you try to find barbershops that already have that clientele like built in already. That way you don't have to go and find them yourself. Now it depends on the type of barbershop that you want to work in, but ultimately when it comes to building clientele, it's going to take some repetitions, right? Because we're in the barber industry, and it depends on how fast you build up. Really depends on how good your retention is. So getting a client in the door that's willing to let you cut their hair is a different skill than getting them to come back. One is like a marketing skill and one is a retention skill. So you have to be able to do both if you really want to grow your clientele. So what a lot of people do when they're trying to grow a clientele is they start posting on social media. And there's nothing wrong with that. You can definitely get clients from social media. But what I started doing was I started thinking, well, if I was a client, how would I find a barber? So what I did was I looked on Google, right? What are the barbershops that had the best reviews in the area? And then I also started asking the clients that did come in, how did you find us? Like, how did you hear about us? And I promise if you guys start asking your clients that, like, how did you hear about us? You're going to start getting really good feedback on one, like, what are the ways that people are looking for barbers, but also what is of what you're doing, like, what is being the most effective as far as like getting clients in the door. So, I mean, there's definitely more technical, more accurate ways of measuring like how well your marketing is working. But it just one of the easiest things you can do, and it's a good conversation starter, is just asking your clients, how did you hear about us? When I started asking people that, a lot of people were saying Google. So that was when I was working for somebody else. So then when I started hearing Google, Yelp, Google, all the time, I started to get an idea of, okay, when I open my own shop, I'm going to make sure that I go hard on Google in terms of making sure we have a good, like the profile is complete, like we claim the listing, that we got a lot of reviews on there. I mean, I started with zero. Like, I don't know if you guys have gotten a chance to look up my shop. It's called House Shapes Barbershop. We're in Jacksonville, Florida, and we started with zero reviews. And right now we have almost 1,100 reviews for our original location. And I could turn off all the marketing for that we do to get new clients, and we would still be getting new clients simply because of the Google reviews. So I think a lot of barbers, I don't know, maybe they're just copying other people or whatever, but I think that social media is, I look at it as a way to enhance the other stuff, right? Because these days clients are doing a lots of research before they book an appointment with you. Like, it's very rare that people are just going to like be driving down the street and then see a barbershop sign and then just like whip in there and just like, hey, can you guys cut my hair? Like, that does happen, right? But a lot of times clients these days are doing research before they come and visit you. So social media, I think, is good for that, to show it, act as like a portfolio. But essentially, like, it's just going to enhance the other stuff. Like, it all kind of works together. There's no like one best way to do marketing to try to get new clientele. But I think a lot of people are overlooking like Google reviews, Yelp reviews. I mean, which is fine. Like, if you're, if we're competing and you're not focusing on Google reviews, like, that's fine. Keep focusing on social media. But I think that focusing on Google, focusing on the social media, and then it's also in terms of like your resources, because recently we've gone really hard in paid ads, and that's probably the fastest way to get new clients. However, there's a cost that comes with that. Not everybody can afford to run paid ads, and especially in the beginning, you're probably not going to be good at it, so you're going to be blowing lots of money and showing your ads to people that would never even come in the first place. I mean, every time I go on Instagram, I see an ad from some barbershop on the other side of the country because they never took that extra step to make sure that it's only targeting people in their area, right? Because I'm not going to go to a barbershop that's in Arizona or whatever. So if you're going to do paid ads, make sure that you save yourself a lot of money, and make sure that you are just targeting your area, like 5, maybe 7 miles, maybe 10 of them. It depends on your city and the population density. But I would say first, you got to be in a good city that has a lot of people in it. Second, go to a barbershop that already has the clientele, so you don't have to worry about building it up yourself. And then third, like, focus on building your reputation online. So that includes social media, but also don't forget about Google, Yelp, Facebook. And if you get those things nailed down, then you'll find that everything else is, you can do paid ads too. But once you got, even when people see paid ads, they're going to still, they might not click on the ad, but they're going to go do research on you. So that's when you start to go in there and be like, okay, make sure I have something I want them to see, to convince them to come and check you out. So in terms of building clientele, those are some of the ways. But I think the most powerful is trying to get the people that you've already cut to come back, right? And to refer their friends. So that's reaching back out to them after you've cut their hair and you haven't seen them for a while, reaching back out to them to see like, hey, I see you're due for another cut. I got some openings this week. Do you want to come by? And that does two things. You're going to get feedback from it. They're going to tell you like, no, I don't want to come back. And then you can ask why, get some feedback, try to get better. Or they might be like, yeah, I'll come by. So trying to get, I think when people are new, and this is something that took me way too long to realize, but I can kind of tell where somebody's at in their journey depending on the questions they ask. So typically newer barbers and newer barbershop owners are a lot more focused on getting new clients, which is fine. Like that's what you need to do to get started. But the real money is made when you try to shift your focus to how do I get these clients to come back? And if you can master that skill of retention and customer service, then when you bring in new clients, they stay, right? And then you just that's how you build much, much faster. So, I mean, I hope that answered your question, Bernard, the best way to build clientele. I don't know if there is a best way, but that's the way that worked for me. So Google, online reputation, do some social media too. But honestly, right now, most clients from us are coming from paid ads, but that takes money, that takes resources, that takes some skill too. So I wouldn't jump directly into that without having the other stuff dialed in first. All right, and if you guys are just joining, welcome. You can type your questions in the chat. I'm starting with the pre-submitted questions that were in the school group, but I'm going to get to yours in a second. So the next question is from Zahid, which he says, when you raise your price, do you feel like you should add more services or amenities to justify that price increase? I used to think that, yeah. I used to think that, okay, we're raising the price, so we need to add more. But I don't know if, and there's nothing wrong with that, actually. There's nothing wrong because ultimately it's about value. Like it's about perceived value to the clients. And that's ultimately how people buy. If you think about it, it's like people are willing to spend more money on something if they see the value in it. So I don't think there's anything wrong with thinking about, okay, I'm going to be going up a little bit on my price. Should I add something in there so that way they feel like they're getting their money's worth? And the question is, what are you thinking about adding? So you don't always have to add services in order for people to feel like they're getting their money's worth. Sometimes you have to raise the price because that's just the cost of doing business right now. The business expenses went up, rent went up, whatever. And sometimes you can't afford to add anything else, right? So I think that it really just depends on what it is that you're talking about in terms of adding things. Like, so you said services or amenities. I would focus more on the amenities personally because services add time. And usually anything that adds time, you want to charge more for. So if you're adding something that takes more time and you're raising your price, then it may not be worth it in the end of the day if you're raising your price and then you find that now you're not charging enough because now you're taking even more time on the client. So there's lots of ways to add value without adding services, without giving away services. Because I think that's one of the first thing that barbers think about when they think about adding value. And there's nothing wrong with that. But I like to think about how can this is an interesting question that I've had many times throughout the years. And this is hard, but this is why business is hard, this is the question that I ask myself is, how do we add value without adding incremental cost? That's the way I think about it. Because almost everything that you do is going to add some sort of cost. But I specifically said incremental cost because here's an example of something we did. So I was looking to upgrade the waiting area chairs in our lobby. We had some for years. We've had like some just basic Sam's Club stackable chairs, which are there's nothing wrong with it, but I just wanted to like make the lobby look a little bit nicer. And since we were going up on our prices at the time, I did feel like maybe we should think about like matching the amenities to the new price point. So I was going to get some chairs from IKEA, which were, I don't know, like $200 or $300 each. And then I don't even know where I got this idea from, but this idea of a massage chairs in a lobby kind of hit me out of nowhere one day. And I started doing research and I ended up finding like some pretty cheap massage chairs for the lobby that were actually cheaper than the chairs in the from IKEA. And I got those and the clients loved them. And what's cool about it is that there was a cost associated with getting those chairs, of course, but there's no incremental cost. Like it doesn't cost us money, maybe a little bit of electricity, but it doesn't cost us money when people use those chairs. They're going to be waiting anyways, right? So that was one example of one way that we found to add value by increasing the quality of the amenities without necessarily adding incremental cost. Like another way that we added value, which does add cost, is we started giving away beer and like energy drinks and Gatorade and soda, which of course the clients love that. But that every time somebody takes a drink, and there's a cost associated with that. But I can tell you guys that it's probably not as expensive as you might think to supply drinks, free drinks to your clients, especially if you have like a range of options. Like most people will just grab a bottle of water, but some people will get a beer, some people will get two beers. What I found though is that the cost that comes with offering drinks is usually like very insignificant. So I would focus more, Zahid, on the amenities side of things before you start looking into how can I throw in more services when I raise my price. Now, keep in mind, you don't have to like do anything different. It could just be that you explain to your clients, hey, the cost of business went up, so I need to go up on my prices a bit. And some people will understand, some people won't, and some people will be willing to go along for the ride with you and will have no problem paying the additional, whatever the new price is. But don't feel like you have to add new things because that usually comes after, right? Because the reason that you're probably asking about raising your prices is because maybe you're not making as much as you need to make. Okay. So you can't afford to invest into the amenities or services that you want to do. So if you're going to add something, I would say maybe consider doing it after the price increase. And that could be part of the way you sell it to your clients. Like these are the things that we want to do, that we want to offer for you. So after the price increase, we're going to be working towards offering these things. So hopefully that helped answer your question. There's nothing wrong with wanting to add more value to your clients by offering other things. Just don't feel like you like have to do it. It's definitely something that clients appreciate though when they can see that you're investing back into the barbershop. They love that, trust me. All right, so next question. So Corey wants to know, as a barber behind the chair, is it better to get a percentage or pay booth rent? So this is a good question. Probably gonna spend a while on this one, but so Corey, I was thinking about this the other day when your question came in. I think it ultimately depends on what you need from the barbershop. So if you are brand new to the industry and you are still learning to cut hair, like you're fresh out of school, or if you are new to that area, like maybe you moved to a new city, and you don't know how to market yourself, you don't know how to even cut hair because you're new to cutting hair, then you probably need a place that's going to give you training, that's going to do the marketing for you, that might even supply supplies for you. And if that's what you need, then you may be better off going to a barbershop that does a commission or straight like an hourly rate. because you don't have the skills yet to kind of support yourself. You probably could go to a barbershop that does booth rent and build up. The question is, can you afford to wait as long as it might take to get to that point? Like, because ultimately it depends on, just like just like we were talking about with prices and value with Zahid and his question, pricing goes the other way too with employees. So people, if you think about it, you're paying the owner, and what are you getting in return? Right. So if you're at a barbershop and you're paying booth rent, then you might not be getting anything in return other than the uh, you get to use the chair when you're there. Maybe they're a really good booth rent owner, and they actually are trying to promote you and keep you busy, but they don't have to really, because that you have to think about too how the barbershop owner is incentivized. If that's probably the best way to think about it. Like, somebody that has a commission or an hourly based shop is strongly incentivized to keep you busy, because if you think about it, you're only going to be making them money if you're busy. Whereas a booth rent shop, they make money whether you're busy or not, because you got to pay them that rent. Hopefully that makes sense, right? It's more of real estate than running like a true business, where they got to keep you busy with marketing and making sure that you're holding up to the standards. And then with booth rent, it's just pay me my money every week. I don't care how many cuts you did, you still owe me this much money. So I don't know if that helps you, Corey, but I think that really, if you're new to the industry, I started off in a commission based shop, right? Because I recognized that early on. I didn't even care what the pay was, because I was going to a place because of the practice. Does that make sense? Like, I knew that I sucked at cutting hair, so I tried to find the busiest shop that I could, and I didn't even know what the pay was, but I didn't care at the same time either, because I was going there to get the skill. So I think you should either be learning or earning, right? If you're going to a place, you should either be going there to acquire some sort of skill, or because you're going to be making a lot of money when you are there. If you're not doing any of those things, then I don't know if you should be there. And it kind of goes back to what the first question is, like, if you're not making money, then you might be just in the wrong shop. Like, I think you should be doing, if you're not doing 10 haircuts a day, I would say, I mean, 5 to 10. Let's put a range on it. Let's say 5 to 10 haircuts a day. Then what are you doing all day? Like, you just do the math. Like, a lot of booth rent barbers don't even do the math. Like, how long are you in the shop? Total up all the hours. How much money did you make that week? And then do that math. I made this much money this week, and I spent this many hours in the shop. If you're not doing a lot of haircuts every day, you'd probably be making more money at Sport Clips. And you would also be getting better faster. Like, a lot of people, like, especially in our industry, like to like talk crap about these big companies, but I don't understand that, because they have thousands of locations. And I've talked to so many barbers that were wanting to work with me, and they were coming from booth rent places, and they were doing 1 haircut a day, 2 maybe, and they didn't want to go on hourly or commission, because they felt like their worth was more, but they were making less than minimum wage. So I think that as a barber, you have to kind of put your pride aside and not think about right now, but think about where you want to be in a year, in 2 years, right? And be willing to make that short-term sacrifice in terms of income in order to get to where you want to be in the long run faster, really. So there's nothing wrong with going to a booth rent shop, like fresh out of school, or if you're new to a city. Just keep in mind that the owner is not incentivized to keep you busy, right? Maybe they will do it, but you're a lot more likely to find that at a hourly or commission based barbershop, because they literally don't make money unless you make money. So hopefully that makes sense, Corey. All right, so let me start going through these questions here in the chat. So Perry wants to know, how much would you say it costs to turnkey on a barbershop? I'm not sure what you mean by that, Perry. So how much would you say it costs to turn key on a barbershop? You mean to open a barbershop, or to like take over one from a previous owner? Because there's two scenarios really. When you're opening a barbershop, you're either building it out from scratch. So the only thing that was in there was it's just an empty shell. It's just drywall and concrete. And both the barbershops, well, when I first started, I was taking over from a previous owner, and it was already a barbershop. So that was easy. Like, it was literally just, I changed the name on the lease, and next day we got started. But then the two locations we have now, we had to build out both of them. And there's a huge cost associated with building out a barbershop, especially if it wasn't a barbershop before, which was the case with both locations that we have now. And I definitely regret it. And I would do a lot of things, especially with the second one. I would do a lot differently in terms of the build out, knowing what I know now. So when it comes to how much does it cost, I mean, that's a really difficult question to answer. My first barbershop, okay, so I'll just tell you. So when I took over the shop originally from the previous owners, I paid $5,000 for 4 stations and a computer, and that's basically it, some paint. So that was turnkey. But I mean, I ended up replacing all those stations. We didn't keep anything. It was just, it was the start. It was and that's all I had at the time, right? When we ended up moving from our original location to our second original location, the build out for that was like, I want to say it was around $50,000. And that's because we had to take an empty shell and convert it into a barbershop. So there was nothing in there. There was no plumbing. There was no electrical. There was no lights. There was nothing. When we had to move, there was a bathroom right in the middle of the space that we had to move because it was like cutting off the middle of the space. And we had to put the floor, we had to do the walls, do all the electrical. As a barber, you need a lot of electrical. Everybody's got to have 10 plugs for all their stuff. So that, and then the second location we built, for the second from scratch location, was probably 200 plus grand, right? And that was an empty shell. Nothing. It wasn't a barbershop before, but it was the same thing. We had to do all the plumbing, all the electrical, and it's insanely. We spent way too much money. So I will tell you that if you're in the U.S., you're going to probably spend somewhere, especially nowadays with costs and everything being where they are, you're probably going to spend in the neighborhood of 50 to 100 grand. Can you do it cheaper? Absolutely. You could start out with 1 chair, 1 station, maybe 2, and just the bare minimum. And honestly, I think that would probably be the best way to start, because you can always build on that. Like, one of the biggest, the thing that I regret the most is not necessarily opening the second location, but how much we spent. So I would have designed the second location, knowing what I know now, to be a lot more like the first one. Because if you guys haven't seen what our shops look like, they look completely different. And that was because with the second one, we tried to like apply what we learned with building out the first one, and basically like, how can we make this better? And we did some things right, for sure, but we ended up spending like way more money than we should have. So at our first shop, we have toolboxes for our stations. And the second shop, we decided to do a quartz countertop with custom built cabinets like you would find in a kitchen. And then That was a complete waste of money. The toolboxes are so much better, and I probably would have saved like 20 or 30 grand by going with toolboxes. Plus, the toolboxes you can move, which we have moved them multiple times. Um, where the built-in custom cabinets you cannot move, right? So if you ever want to leave that space, just keep in mind that anything that's attached to the wall, you may not be able to move. So keep that in mind if you're not sure, if you end up doing a build out on a barbershop, if you may not be able to take it with you if you permanently attach that to the wall, depending on how the lease is structured. That's the way a lot of my wife's a realtor, and that's the way a lot of contracts are structured in real estate. Like if it's attached to the wall, like a TV mount or something like that, that's part of the house now. So the commercial real estate may be the same way. So keep that in mind when you are considering building out a shop. Like, don't go crazy with the expenses, because and I think this is a lot of. I mean, I certainly made this mistake, but many people don't keep in mind the cost of what happens after you open. You know, because they only think about, okay, I just need this much money to get started, but you may not be making money right away. And I would say that there's a good chance that you're going to be losing money the first year or two, you know, especially if this is your first time opening a barbershop. So that you have to keep some money in the bank, so that you can absorb those costs, because businesses go out of business not usually because they were a bad business owner, but they just ran out of money. Like they ran out of money before they got a chance to even get going. So I would say you got to keep that in mind too. So you got to keep in the construction costs are just the first step. But when you open a barbershop, you have to keep it open. And that takes money. And if you're not making money, then you better have money saved up, because otherwise you're going to have a nice barbershop that's going to go on to the next person that's moving into the space after you. So don't just keep in mind the cost that it takes to open the shop. Keep in mind the operating costs after. And ideally, I mean, six to 12 months saved up in cash is what you'd want to have. And I know that's a lot of money, but that's the reality. Like, you may not be making money for the first full year, and those bills are guaranteed now. You're gonna have to sign a lease probably saying that you get to take my house and everything you own if I don't make it. So unless you want that to happen, it might be worth, waiting a little bit longer and saving up a little bit more cash before you make that leap. Hopefully you found that helpful. All right, so Vinay, hey Alex, have you tried Facebook ads before? If so, what types of offers worked well? Asking as an owner. So yes, Vinay, I have definitely run Facebook ads before. I was looking at our expenses like a couple days ago. So far, we've spent almost $50,000 on Facebook this year on Facebook ads. So we've definitely run some Facebook ads, and we've tested a lot of different offers, a lot of different targeting, a lot of different, you know, it's a process. It is just like cutting hair, right? It's like a skill to learn, and I've definitely made a lot of mistakes and wasted a lot of money. But when it comes to the offer, since that was your question, it really depends on the goal. So is your goal to get people in the door as fast as possible? Or is your goal to have clients that come long term? Because those might be two different offers. The reason I say that is because it depends on what you're optimizing for. So if you're just trying to get people in the door, which means you want that click-through rate to be as high as possible, you want people to come in and you just want to fill your chairs, then you might make a really strong offer, like a free haircut or half off or 25% off or whatever. You know your business better than me. Whatever you feel comfortable getting away with in terms of an offer, that will get people in the door for sure. And of course, the stronger the offer, the better it's going to work. So we started off with like 10% off, right? And it wasn't really doing anything. So then we kept increasing the percentage off. So then we went from like 10 to 20% to 30, and then we went 50%. And then we were like, buy one, get one free. And then we were like, dollar. At one point, I did $1 haircut. That was very effective at getting people in the door. But as you might imagine, you have to keep in mind that sometimes the people that see these ads are only going to come in because of the discount. So that's why I'm saying, what is the goal? And I see you said long-term clients. The problem that we saw when we started doing these really strong offers is that these clients would come in, right? And they would get their 50% off haircut or their dollar haircut or whatever. But they were often like very difficult clients to work with. They were very cheap and they didn't come back. So essentially, it was a waste of money, right? Because the problem with paid ads, especially in an industry like ours, where we're not really charging like a lot of money. So you really need those clients to come back and to keep coming back. Otherwise, it's like, what's the point? What's the point of spending money to get people in the door? Because right now, our cost to get a new client in the door through Facebook ads is hovering like right around $40. And our haircut price right now is $40. So we're not making money that first visit. We really need them to come back, which is why we don't even do discounts now, to be honest with you. We don't advertise any discounts. It just says Facebook. Like there's an ad on Facebook that just says, it's a video of a haircut. I just spin the chair and show that finished haircut and literally just explain what I did. And that's it. That's the ad. And it's like, there's a little bit of copy about us, like, top rated barbershop in Jacksonville. And then there's a call to action, a link to book. And that's it. There's no offer. There's no nothing. So you have to keep in mind that although it may not be as effective in terms of like getting a lot of people in the door really quickly, if you don't have a discount in the ad, you might attract higher quality clients, which is ultimately, I don't know about you, but ultimately that's what I want. I want people that are going to keep coming back. So we started noticing once we took away all the discounts that we were advertising in our Facebook ads, that it started attracting better clients, and the retention actually started to go up because these people weren't price sensitive. Like there was no discount mentioned in the ad, and they came in and they got their haircut and they had a good experience, and then they came back. So that's the game, right? It's one skill, like I was mentioning earlier. It's one skill to be able to get people in the door. It's another thing to be able to get them to come back. So we're in the getting people to come back business, because if you're not good at that, then you're going to have to be really good at marketing. It's like pouring water in a bucket that has holes in it. And if you don't retain clients, then you're going to have to get really, really good at marketing. And depending on the size of your city, you may run out of clients at some point. So I would say it's really important to get, new clients in the door constantly, because you're not going to be able to keep like everybody forever, right? So you're going to naturally, even if your retention is really high, you're going to naturally have clients coming and going. That's just the nature of our business. So you got to be able to replace those clients. So there's always got to be some marketing going on no matter what. But in terms of Facebook ads, just test it. I can't really give you an off, like you should do this. I can just tell you my experience. When we started advertising offers, discounts, it attracted cheap clients that did not come back. And then when we took away the discounts, we got better clients. So test both. You can run more than one ad at the same time. You can have one that doesn't have an offer, and you can one that has one that does. And then you can just test it. Honestly, you guys could answer a lot of your own questions by simply just testing them side by side. That's literally what we did with our Facebook ads. We usually run 2 to 3 ads at the same time, and the budget is split up between them, and each one is different, not completely different. I would just say test one thing. So maybe you test, like, maybe you're trying to figure out like what's the best, you know, maybe you swap the video out or swap the picture out, right? But everything else is the same. And that way you can see, okay, this picture did better than that picture, because otherwise, besides the picture, everything else is the same about the ad. So I know that since everything else is the same, this picture does better. And then you turn that other ad off that isn't working, and you test a different one. And then you just keep doing that over and over and over again until you find a winner. That's what we did. We started off like, when I first started running Facebook ads, I mean, the cost was ridiculous to get a client in the door. And that's because I wasn't good at it. It was like $300 to get one new client. And then I dropped it to like 100. And then it dropped to like 60. And now it's at 40, right? And the way you get there is through testing. So I would say run like minimum 2 to 3 ads. Each one is a little bit different. And then you could have one that has an offer and one that doesn't, one that has a picture versus one that has a video, and then just test it and turn off the ones that don't work. And that's it. So ever try lead ads instead of direct booking? So the problem with lead ads is somebody has to be like monitoring. This is the issue that we had, right? Because when you run a lead ad, somebody has to follow up with that lead, right? So the question is do you have somebody available that can respond to that lead? And usually speed is king here, and you want to be able to respond like within like a minute, 5 minutes of when that lead comes in, because people forget about it. So that's me personally why lead ads, I didn't really like them, even though they can work. You just have to have a system of like, how are you going to respond to these leads quickly? So for me personally, we just send people to the booking site. Maybe that's not the best way, but that's what we do, because I was limited on time, and I don't have like a sales team just waiting to respond to leads when they come in. So I just do directly to the booking page. So that's what worked for us. By the way, a great school group. Keep it up. Thanks, man. What's the budget, if you don't mind me asking? Sorry, lots of questions. So we're spending, let me see. The only thing we're spending money on right now is Facebook ads. There's literally no other marketing that I'm spending money on. I'm not saying that other marketing doesn't work. It's just that Facebook's worked the best for us. Like, I've tried Google, I've tried every possible way of marketing you can think of. We've done direct mail. We did, those cheap magazines where you're like a bunch of coupons. So far, nothing's worked better than Facebook. Plus, Facebook's got the targeting really dialed in. And one of the things that you have to be mindful of when it comes to ads, sorry, that's my 15-minute warning for my meeting. All right, I got to jump off here in about 15 minutes. But to answer your question, I think we're spending $200 a day. Let me see. Yeah, I think that's about what we're spending right now. So I answer your question? Yeah, $200 a day. The answer to like how much to spend, yeah, 200, is really dependent on like how well are you keeping the clients ultimately, because the better you are at keeping the clients, or the more cash you can get up front, the more you can spend. You don't need to spend $200 a day. Like, I would start with a low number, something you can afford, maybe 10, 20, whatever dollars a day, and don't turn up the budget until you have a winner. That's how I blew a lot of money. I just say I'm going to save you thousands of dollars right now. Start with a really low budget until you get a winner, and then turn up the budget. Don't just turn up the budget thinking, oh, Facebook will take care of it, because Facebook loves to spend your money. So they will spend it, even whether it's working or not. So optimize the ad until it's working, and then you turn up the budget. Ideally, what you want to find is like, I'm putting $1 in, and this is how much I'm getting back out. And the higher you get back versus what you're spending, that's how you know you have a winner. So if you're getting $1 back for every dollar you spend, you're breaking even, but you're not really making anything. But if you're getting like, for every dollar you put in, you're getting $2 or $3 back, that would be one that I would turn the budget up on. So that's how you can kind of determine that. I would start low because you're probably not going to be good at it in the beginning, and then you can always turn it up later, you know. And you can, that's the nice thing about Facebook, is you can turn it up and turn it down as needed, right? So it's nice to have that flexibility. All right, so Royal Cuts Barbershop. Hello, what's up, Alex? Blessings. What's the fastest way to hire barbers, and where do you find them? I know school programs and ads, but what's another way of doing the hiring? Thanks. Good question, Royal Cuts. So this is actually one of the biggest lessons I've learned in my entire time of being a barbershop owner. And that is, marketing for barbers is essentially the same thing as marketing for clients. It's the same skills. You're just targeting a different person. So ideally, just like you would never want to stop looking for new clients, you would probably never want to stop looking for new barbers. And the same way you would look for new clients, you would use for barbers. So barbers are going on Google and looking at your reviews. Barbers are going on Indeed and looking at your reviews. Do you have a website? I mean, is there a way that people can find information about you online? Are you advertising? Are you putting stuff out on social media saying that you're hiring? Because all that stuff helps. And the reason I think that you're asking me this question is because you might be making the mistake that I did in the past, which is like, okay, I got enough people, I'm good. I'll shut off all the ads. And then you lose some people, and all of a sudden, like, crap, you're like desperate for people, you know, and you have to just throw something out there. So the key is really to never stop looking. So this is what I do. So I always have an ad out there. Not necessarily a paid ad, but something, you know, something saying that we're hiring. And then when people apply and we're not hiring, I'll just tell them, sorry, we're not hiring right now. We don't have any spaces available. But when we do, I'll give you a call. And then you just start building up a list, basically a list of leads. And then when a spot does open up, you go down the list and you hit up everybody that's applied in the past. And one of them are probably going to be still interested in working for you. So that's like the proactive part of it. But in terms of like, if you need somebody right now, the fastest way, that's like your question, you can go in Indeed and you can start running a paid ad. You can also, I just did this the other day. You can pay for, it's like $100 something a month, and you can start messaging people. You know, you can even see when was the last time they were active, when they updated their resume. Some people were like, last week they updated their resume. So those are the first people I messaged. And out of like, I don't know, the 6 people I messaged, like 3 of them said they were interested. So these are people that are actively looking for a job. Then of course you want to keep posting on, it depends on the sense of urgency, right? So I would say for us, we're really busy right now. So the sense of urgency is probably a little bit higher than normal to get a barber in the door. So I would be posting on social media every single day, if not, or maybe every other day, that you're hiring, and tell them how to apply. And then the next day, you just archive the old one. So it doesn't look like your whole feed is just like you're hiring. So post that you're hiring. And then the next day or the 2 days later, archive the old post and post that you're hiring again. Put it on your website as a pop-up, if you can, that you're hiring. Anytime somebody interacts with your business, they should know that you're hiring, if the sense of urgency is high. And in terms of like going to schools, the question I have for you is like, are you set up to train somebody that's fresh out of school? Because I can tell you from personal experience, unless it's somebody who kind of knew already how to cut hair before they started school, you're going to have to put probably 6 months in, or maybe a year into training somebody just to get them to like, okay, now I don't have to fix every single haircut. So I don't know if you want to hire. I mean, it depends on where you're at as a business. If you have an amazing training program and you have the time to go and watch them do a haircut and coach them through it and then fix it after, because that's what they need when they're fresh out of school. Um, I don't know if like I me personally, I'm not looking to hire people fresh out of school right now, just because I know we're not set up to do that. We're looking for more experienced people. So it's just like with marketing, like what types of clients do you want? If you are looking for experienced people, then go where the experienced people are. Right? If you're able to coach somebody and build them up fresh out of barber school, then go to the schools. Right. So it really depends on what you what are you capable of doing right now. Do you need somebody that can just start making money for you right now, or are you able to invest 6 months, a year into training somebody? If so, then go to the school. But I mean, just like you would find a barber to cut your hair, you could also do one-to-one outreach and go on Instagram or whatever and just type barbershop your city and find all the barbers there. And you could reach out to them one-on-one, DM them. I mean, I don't, some people have issues with this in our industry. I mean, every single other industry does this. It's just recruiting, right? And worst case scenario, they either don't respond or they tell you, no, I'm happy. I'm good. I'm good where I'm at. I'm like, okay, then you move on. But chances are you're going to, if you start DMing people, especially a lot of people, somebody's going to be interested if you do enough volume. And what's cool is that sometimes some of the best people aren't even looking for a job, right? Because they already have a job, but maybe they're not happy where they're at. They're just not actively looking. So that's the downside with hiring through these job boards and stuff, is that it doesn't always attract the best people, because these are people that are like actively looking. And then the question is like, why are you looking? You know, it could be that just they're new to town and they're seeing what's out there. But sometimes it's just, you got those people that are just like, they're just hopping around, you know, they're what I call shop hoppers, right? They're in a new shop like every month, you know? So hopefully that helps answer your question, Royal Cuts. There's no like one right way. It depends on where you're at. If you're able to train somebody, go to the schools. That's the easiest way. Me personally, I like hiring from like franchises, like Sport Clips, Break Clips, because these people are used to like structure, and it's really not hard to beat what they were making pay wise in terms of that at wherever they were, right? So go where, decide the type of barbers or stylists you're looking for, and go where they are. Hopefully that helped you. All right, guys. Well, I'm gonna hop off now. Hope you guys enjoyed this call. We'll be doing another one in the next few weeks. If you haven't already, you guys know that you can book a free call when you first join the school group. It's like this, but one-on-one, and just me and you. You can also submit your questions in advance. If you guys found this helpful, let me know. Do a heart or thumbs up in the chat or something like that, so I know that I should do more of these. And if you don't know, this is the URL to my school group. It's free to join. And like I said, we'll be doing another live Q&A. If you want to know when the next one is, I'm going to put it in the school group. There's a calendar tab where all the events are scheduled. So I don't know when the next one is. It'll either be next week or maybe the week after next. But either way, it'll be in the calendar. You just got to go to the school group, go to the calendar, and it'll be in there. May not be today, but soon. All right. Well, thanks for joining me, guys. I'll talk to you soon.